Now, what we want to do is we want to get all of these lines, see these little lines that we've drawn with our pencil over the last couple of days, we're going to convert them so that they're all words, okay? Before we start though, there's 3 rules that I want you to remember when you're typing your words out, your sentences out. And I'm going to type them over here, and you guys can write them down as well somewhere. You can jot them down on a notebook. You could type them on a Word document or whatever. You don't have to have them in your actual project or anything like that. But these are the few, man, everybody's just coming in late. It's okay. These are the rules when we start adding words, okay? So here's the number 1. The number 1 rule is we are going to use all, come on, there we go. All caps all the time. All caps all the time. So that's going to be the number 1 rule. All caps all the time. So you can jot that down in your notebook or whatever. The number 2 rule that we're going to do, and this is going to seem a little weird at first, but we're not going to have any spaces, no spaces or punctuation. The reason for this is because what we're trying to do here is we're not writing book reports. We're doing artwork, and we want our lines to look like lines. So if we have a bunch of spaces and exclamation points and commas and lowercase letters, the illusion of it being a line is going to be broken because it's going to be all over the place. So we want everything to be all capital letters, and we want to have no spaces or punctuation. And then the last rule here, is that we want to use very small font. And what I mean by very small is I mean 8 points less. And I'll explain what that means in just a moment. So these rules right here, these 3 rules are going to help us when we convert our lines into words. These are going to make it still look like a line contour drawing. I'll put them over here right on his forehead so we don't forget. All right, there we go. Boom. Those rules right there are going to be the things that are going to make it look like lines and not just like a bunch of jumbled letters all over the page. Okay, so now we'll come back to those rules in a second. Now it's the complex part. This is the part where I want you to stop whatever you're doing. If you're playing Among Us or Warzone or something, just stop for a second. Pause, Netflix, whatever you're watching on there. Okay. What we need to do, the complex part, the mildly complex part, is we need to get this line converted to something that we can type on, okay? So the way you do that is just like this. Over here on your toolbar, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, you'll see this thing that says type tool. That's what I just used to make my rules for you. The way the type tool works is if you click on it and you just click once, you can start typing, all right? Now, that's not what we're going to be doing for this. That's just the basic type tool. What we want to do is this. On that type tool, if you click and hold on it, you will see that there's a bunch of different ways to input type in your project. The one that we want, and that's what we're going to be using for the entire time, is this one that says type on a path tool. You can see the little type icon is going down a swoopy line. That's to indicate that it's going to be typing along a path, right? It's almost like it's going skiing or surfing or something. So we're going to be using the type on a path tool. So I'll start by just doing this jaw right here. All right. So you click on your type on a path tool. Then you bring it over to the line on which you want to type, and you'll see when you're hovered over it, it turns kind of like red, like it's selected. All you got to do is just click on it. And when you do that, some weird stuff is going to happen. Okay. Don't do anything else yet. Some weird stuff is going to happen. The first thing you can do is just hit, let me show you real quick. I'll click right here. Boom. So sometimes what it'll do is it'll populate this weird sort of font. It almost looks like Latin. It's just nonsense. You can just hit backspace because you don't need that. And now here's the key. This is the part where everybody gets confused. I've clicked on it with my type on a path tool. And now if I were to start typing like this, notice that it doesn't type along the entire line. Right? You see that? But what I want to do is immediately, as soon as I click on the type on a path tool, you got to go to your white arrow. When you do that, you'll see these 3 little sticks come up. I'll zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Just a sec. There you go. When you do that, you'll see these 3 little sticks come up. These three little sticks indicate the area in which you can type. So what we want to do, we have to format this. All right, so as soon as I convert it, I go to my white arrow, and then I can drag these little sticks. So I drag one to one side, drag the other to the other side, and then this middle one here tells the computer or tells the program which side of the line we want to type on. See that? So if I move it to this side, I'll type on that side of the line. But the key element here is that as soon as you convert the line, you go to your white arrow and you can drag these out so that they're so that you space it out so that you can write along the entire line. This is the most important thing. Then I go back to my type on a path tool, click on the line again, and now I'm ready to go. So I gave you three little rules earlier, and hopefully you have a bank of words that you can type. So let's just say I start typing out like this: Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP. Okay, now when I see that, I can look at that, and that does look kind of like a straight line going like that, but it's got a lot of weird stuff happening. That doesn't particularly look good, right? If I do that all over the face, it's going to be completely jacked up. So what do you think? What's one of those rules that I can apply to this to clean this up a little bit? Somebody want to throw it out? This is a very easy question. What should I do to this to clean it up? Any one of those three rules will work.
Make it all capital.
That's right. One of the first things we could start with is making it all capital. Very good. So I'll write Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP. Very good. Cool. What else should I do? Right now it looks like a big beard, and I know he doesn't have a chin strap. So what else should I do?
Make it smaller.
Make it smaller. Very good. So if I go, now a cool thing about this, type on a path tool or just type tool in general, my cursor, you can see it's got a cool little wavy line going through it. This acts just like if you were editing a Word document or like a book report. So you can hover it wherever, you can highlight over things, you can change things, etc. So, all right, I'm going to highlight it all out like this. And now when I make it smaller, the way you do that is up here. So once you have a type tool selected, you'll see that there are new things that you can change, new little, what am I saying? Sub-tools or whatever. So one of the things is this first thing that allows you to change the font. I'll get to that in a moment. Over here, though, you can see it says 12 PT. That's where we're going to want to drop it. We want to be between 8 and 4, probably, okay? The smaller you go, the more it's going to look like an actual line. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, but right now it kind of looks like a dashed line in my eye. That is because I have spaces, right? So I don't want any spaces. You might think like, well, that's going to look weird. It's going to look like a run-on sentence. It's going to be hard to read. It's not really the case because, like I was saying earlier, we're not really writing a book report. What we're doing is we're creating an illusion to our artwork, right? We just want it to look like line. If somebody wants to get in there and actually see what it says, they'll be willing to read through your through your run-on word, right? Okay, so here I go back to it. I'm going to continue. I'm going to write Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl MVP like this, and I'm going to repeat that phrase, and that's totally fine to do. So occasionally you'll see that it runs off the edge. So like I wrote MVP, the M, the V, and the P didn't come up, or the V and the P didn't. Instead, I got this little red square. What that red square is doing is it's telling me there's more font that's been written. It doesn't matter. It won't print off or anything like that. So what we've done here is by using all caps and by not having spaces and having a really small font, what we get is the illusion of a line. See, that looks like a line. Because if you use capital letters and spaces and big font, it just looks like a blob of words. So we're trying to get it to look like a line. Okay, so let me just show you what I mean, what the difference is. So if I just come over here, remember the most important thing is after I convert the line, so let's just say I just jump in here like this, boom. And I start typing regular. We'll just write Kansas City. Okay. And when I look at that, it doesn't look very good, right? There's a bunch of things that I messed up. What's the first thing that I messed up?
You gotta click the white thing up top and then change the amount of space you can write on it.
That's exactly right. I never did the formatting, right? So as soon as you click the line, the number one thing is you go to the white arrow so that we can manually format this thing. Notice how it started typing here? That's because that's where that little stick was. So what I want to do is I want to drag that stick all the way to one side, drag that little stick all the way to the other side. Then once I've done that, that's the most important thing. Then we can mess around with the way the font looks. Okay, back to my type tool. Now what I can do, I can come back in there. I can make sure that my font is smaller. I go up here, I can change the font size. That was down to 7 possibly. And then I can make sure that I'm typing, maybe I was at 6. I can make sure that I am typing without spaces. Now I'm just using phrases right now. One thing that is fun for you if you are doing like a musical artist, Kansas Chiefs, where am I from? If you're doing a musical artist, this is actually kind of a cool experience. If you listen to the music while you're typing out the lyrics, I found that people really enjoy this. It's like almost like a meditative kind of experience. You can just put your headphones on and just go for a while. Yeah, so that's what I just did right there. The way I'm converting these lines and typing in words is essentially the entire project. You could do that for everything. Now I am going to show you some other cool ways to play around with font to make it look nicer. But if you want to just convert every single line to a perfectly straight, simple line with a perfectly straight, simple phrases and words, you can do that and make it look really nice. But I have not quite shown you how to play around with the fonts yet. So I'm basically just using the simple pre-made Myriad Pro font, the default one that it automatically gives me. So what you can do instead of that is you can do this. Take a look at, all right, so you see how he's got a little chin beard fuzz thing here? What if I don't particularly want to do the entire thing because it's going to make it look like he's got a big beard. But one thing that I can do is this. Instead of just doing the basic lines, once again, I want to reiterate, you can just do the basic lines. That is fine. But if I select over that, and then I come up to where it says Myriad Pro right here, everybody stay with me. I know I'm talking for a long time. I've got about 5 more minutes in me. If I go up here to where it says Myriad Pro, you can click on this drop down and you'll see there's tons of different fonts. And notice how it changes over there as I'm going through it. What happens is when you change the thickness of the font, it'll give it a different look. So if you like sort of squint your eyes to my font list here, you can see some of them look black, some of them look like light gray. That's because of the way the font is designed. So if the letters are really thick or they're really pushed together, they might appear darker. Likewise, if the letters are very skinny or spaced apart, they might appear lighter. So this is something that you can play around with. Like if I want to pick like a font that's kind of like big and thick, that might be the actual Chiefs font. Let's say, I'll just go grab one that looks darker. So I pick one that looks dark like that. And what you'll get is you'll get that. And maybe I want to just increase the size of that font to like 8, right? What you'll get there, you can see, try to ignore those red little squares, they'll go away. You can see that it gives the impression that there's that line down there is just slightly darker and thicker, right? So that's just something you can play around with if you want to adjust fonts. I would not recommend having every single line be something different. That'll just look silly. But like if I establish that I'm going to use Myriad Pro here, this size right here, for everything around the outlines, like if I just come over here, let's say, I go to my white arrow, grab those stick things, make sure I'm typing on the correct side of the line. Excuse me. And then I could come in here with Myriad Pro again. There it is. So now I can come over here and then I could continue typing. I don't know, whatever. I'll do Super Bowl MVP again. I'm feeling less. So what you get there is, it might be hard to see right now, but if I just establish that as my straight line font, and then I embellish every once in a while, I can get like points of interest, things that stand out that make it look unique and interesting. See what I'm doing there? So this, what I just did right here, if you do that for the entire project, varying the size, maybe varying the font slightly, you can get 100%. You can make an awesome project. All right. So I want to show you two final things though, that will help you if you want to add more detail or make it look more interesting. These two things are going to be optional, and these are ways to break those original 3 rules that I gave you to make it look cool. So watch what I mean. All right, check this out. If I go find the hair, like in this case, his hair, or maybe you've got an outfit where you've got some sort of fabric or a zipper or something interesting on the shirt. One thing that you can do is this. If I come in here and I type with my type tool, the same exact process for every line, this never changes, is the formatting part. If I click on one of these little guys, let's say right here, boom, I need to go to my white arrow. I need to grab those little stick things and spread them out so that there we go, at either end, right? That's the most confusing part. Once you get the hang of that, you'll be good to go. Okay, so check this out. What if I come in here and instead of using all caps, if I find a font that looks like really scripty, like handwriting or something, like this one here that says banana, see that? The sample shows me that it's really strange looking. I can do this. I can come in and maybe I want to do, instead of all caps, I can do lower cases. Maybe I'll write Playmaker. Okay, so what I see here when I do that on my banana font, now that doesn't particularly look like a straight line, right? Like I wouldn't want to do that on my nose or my jawline or something. But because I'm doing it in the hair, it gives it kind of like a bit of a frizzy texture, right? Because I've got letters going beneath the line and letters going above it. So it can give it like a cool look. And maybe I can find that same font there. Scroll through here. Like I can go, now that I've got it typed out, I can maybe go find one that's even darker, make it stand out even more. That's kind of cool. But you see how giving it a different look like that, see that it's a little bit darker? Giving it a little different look can give you a different like texture and make it look interesting. So if I were to add that, imagine that all over the hair, it'll make it look like it's got a little frizz to it, a little texture to it. That's something to think about. You don't have to do that. It's just a way to make your thing pop. And then the last thing I want to show you is this. Some of you guys might have areas of your face, and I'm going to bring in my, let me move these rules off here. I'm going to bring in my background image so you can see this. Let's say I want to make this eyebrow actually look like a thick black eyebrow, okay, and not just an outline. Well, there's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to click on this little part here, delete that. I don't need that for what I'm about to show you, or that. And now watch this. So what I can do is I can go to my type on a path tool. I can click on this line and convert it. Oh, good. See, like it's going like that way. It's really jacked up. What do I need to do next? You guys have already told me once. What's the first thing I got to do? That's right. Click on my white arrow. Click on the stick thingies. Spread it out like this. If I want to get it on the other side of this, what do I need to do? See how it's typing below it right now? What do I need to do to get it on the other side? Anybody? Or am I just talking into the void? I'm sure you already know. You're just embarrassed.
Like put it like up. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, that's right. So if you grab this middle stick right here with your white arrow, you can click and drag it to the other side. You see how it flips which side you're writing on? So that just goes into the formatting. The formatting is the most important part, the white arrow. You spread open the area in which you can type, and then you flip that thing, decide which side you're going to type on. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back in here, and now let me show you this final little step to making your project look cool. Again, this is optional. The only thing that you must do is the first stuff I showed you with the long, skinny capital letter lines. If you'd like to add points of emphasis, like maybe you have a beard or dark black hair or a mustache or eyebrows, well, here's how you can do that. I go over to my font. I'm going to go pick a font that looks nice and dark and thick. let's say that one looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to write out some words. I'm going to write Texas Tech, let's say. That's where you went to college if you didn't know. Okay, now that right there is nothing. That's basically what we've been doing the entire time, okay? But what we can do is this. So earlier I mentioned that this cursor acts as if you were editing a Word document. Well, what you can do is you can highlight over certain words like that, or certain letters, and then you can try to fill this space with the size of the letter. What I mean by that is like this. What if I go like boom, boom, and I go like this, and I go a bit bigger? You'll see what I mean in a moment. What it does is it'll make it look as if the word actually is the same size as, I can make that a little larger actually. It's going to make it look like the word fills in the space of the eyebrow. And now this is like a choice. Yeah, let's see here. Come on, you little butt. Come on. Just a sec. I need to get some of that back. So I'm just going letter by letter. And what I can do here is I can, there we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm making that word in a regular shape so that when I zoom out, it'll look like an actual eyebrow. You see that? So when I zoom out, it's got like a little bit of a texture to it. That's a little trick you can play around with if you want to fill space like that. I could do the same thing to like his mustache area. If I don't like that font, I can also go back in there and maybe change it to something else that'll allow me to have a little bit more room to play around with. This one here, there we go. That'll probably be a better font for what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, there you go. All right, so I can play around with the size of it like this, and it'll give me some interesting. That's weird that E didn't get it. Sorry, I keep misclicking. That's why that's happening. Oh my God, this is so annoying. Sorry. My hand-eye coordination's off. I keep clicking in the wrong spot. So anyway, the point of this whole little exercise here is that, there we go, is that you can play around with your words and your lettering in order to fill space like that. There we go, a little bit better. You can see like the eyebrow looks like an actual eyebrow based on that. Now that eyebrow thing and the hair frizzy thing are optional. All right, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I think that they do make it look pretty rad. It'll be up to you to choose. But this part here is the important part. So what I'm going to do today, now that I've talked for like 26 minutes straight, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. You guys stay here with me, start trying to do this. And as you're doing it, if you have any questions, you could just pop in and ask me. But just remember, the key to the formatting is you click on the line with the type on a path tool. Then you click on your white arrow to format it and stretch it out and whatever. And then you go back to your type on a path tool to type. And then playing around with the different font sizes and stuff is the fun of it. All right. Okay, that concludes that part. So I want you guys to just start working. I'll stay right here with you and make something awesome.